Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is the very first lesson for Civics and Government for the 2020-2021 school year. The first unit is all about citizenship, thinking about what it takes to actually be a helpful and effective citizenship in today's democracy. Today's lesson is broken down into 3 different parts. The first part is either reading or listening to the following screencast-o-matic presentation on citizenship and answering key concept questions on the Google Doc. The second part is listening or watching the presentation on citizenship and its different layers and filling in the chart as it corresponds to the different scenarios. And then third, taking a very quick personal survey and also a peer survey where you'll be interviewing one of your peers in the class that have already been pre-chosen for you about their thoughts about being an American citizen and all things happening in the world right now. Let's go ahead and get started. And please remember, you can start and stop this presentation at any time. What does it mean to be a citizen? Well, you are a citizen. You may not go around thinking of yourself as a citizen, but you are one. A citizen is a member of a community who has rights and responsibilities. The community is a group of people who share an environment. The word citizen can really have 2 meanings when you think about it. People who live in a certain place or also are a member of a certain community, or people who are legally recognized by a nation as owing loyalty to that nation and being entitled to protection by that nation. Every day, you're part of several different layers of the community. That means you have different levels of citizenship. At each level, you have rights and responsibilities. Let's look at the different levels of citizenship right now. The people you live with at home make up the smallest community you belong to. Your school or workplace is a community too. These are the people you interact with outside of your home every day. You are also a citizen of the city or county where you live. Our nation is made up of 50 states, a district, and 5 territories. You're a citizen of the state or territory where you live too. Finally, you are a citizen of your country. To be a citizen of a country, you must be legally recognized by that country. Usually that happens when you were born there or you went through a process to become a citizen. Even so, non-citizens living in a country are still citizens, in the sense that they are members of a community. Can you think of any other levels of citizenship that you have? Sources of rights and responsibilities. Where do you get your rights and responsibilities from? Citizens have rights and responsibilities, but where did those rights and responsibilities come from? That depends on the level of citizenship you're talking about, of course. In the United States, at the national level, we are guaranteed a list of rights in our Constitution. The Constitution was written when our nation was born, and it sets the rules for how our nation will run. Laws passed by the U.S. Congress can also create rights. Each state has its own constitution and its own set of laws. State constitutions and state laws contain the rights and responsibilities of state citizens. Cities often have a city charter that tells how the city will run, and cities also pass laws which are usually called ordinances. Most schools have a school handbook that lists the school's or students' rights and responsibilities. Workplaces usually have an employee handbook too. At home, the adults in charge decide what your rights and responsibilities will be, and maybe even have a written list of your responsibilities and what you're allowed to do. Can you think of any other sources of rights and responsibilities? Next section. Let's dissect this even further. What is a right? A right is a privilege or a claim to something. At the national level, the U.S. Constitution guarantees really big rights such as freedom of expression, freedom to peacefully assemble, freedom to petition the government, freedom of worship, and the right not to have government search your stuff without a warrant. In fact, these rights are guaranteed to everyone living in the U.S. Not just U.S. citizens, though. Rights that belong to only the U.S. citizens include voting in a federal election, serving on a jury, and running for federal political office. State constitutions repeat many of the guarantees in the U.S. Constitution, but they often add more. Your state constitution might guarantee the right to a free education or equal rights for men and women, and a city charter gives you the right to services your city provides, such as sidewalks or parks. Would it be a problem if the U.S. Constitution talked about sidewalks? Potentially so, because of course when you think about the different layers of government, that might be something to consider for them to take up. So maybe it seems like your school handbook contains a lot of the things kids aren't supposed to do, and very few rights. But look closer. Sometimes rights are the flip side of responsibilities. If the handbook says you can't do something, it is silently giving you the right to do something else. For example, the handbook might say, do not throw food in the cafeteria. That is silently saying that you have the right to eat in the cafeteria. If the handbook says no inappropriate t-shirts, it is silently saying that you have the right to wear appropriate t-shirts. At home, you probably don't have a handbook of rights, but even so, the adults in charge may give you the right to eat the food they buy or the right to watch TV and play video games. What rights do you have at your school? At your home? Let's go to the next section of content for this part of the lesson. Responsibilities. Responsibilities are duties to other people, the government, or society. At home, you are responsible for doing what the adults in charge ask you to do. You might have to sweep the floor, wash the dishes, or even wash the dog. At school, you're responsible for following the rules too. You're probably not supposed to throw paper airplanes, chew bubble gum, wear your hat backwards, or carry weapons. But city charters and city ordinances at the same time list the rules that apply in a city. For example, an ordinance may say there's a $50 fine for flying a kite in the park. That means you've got a responsibility not to fly your kite there. Paying taxes is a big responsibility you'll find at all levels, including the state level. Your state might have taxes on property you own, income you earn, and even stuff you buy at the store. The U.S. Constitution does not have a list of responsibilities, but it does create a government that can't work if people don't participate. Voting in federal elections and serving on a jury are just two of the responsibilities just for U.S. citizens, and they require participation. But what if nobody showed up to vote? Or what if they voted without understanding the issues? How could you have a jury trial if everyone refused to do jury duty? These are responsibilities U.S. citizens have to both society and government. The Constitution also gives Congress the power to make laws, and all U.S. residents have a responsibility to follow the law. What other responsibilities do you have, and at which level? In closure, guys, before we go to the next part of the lesson, obviously rights and responsibilities are huge in civics and government education. To be a successful citizen in the future, you must know what rights and responsibilities you have. If everyone can know their rights and follow the responsibilities that are allotted to them, we indeed can create a better country and a better democracy today to yield a better future tomorrow.